here to tell you about how I made this two-sided, I guess you could call it a diorama or model for my 8-year-old son for his birthday. So the first thing I did is I went to Home Depot and got a giant piece of plywood, and I had it cut into 4 pieces so that it was one long strip, and they cut it so that I could have a piece here and then have 2 pieces on the side. Functionality wise, if I had done this again, I probably would have used masonite because of the weight, and having this wall actually limits the creative process, in my opinion, than add to it. But anyway, this was my first attempt. So on one side we have a crash lunar landing. This is a model of a Klingon warship that my son put together and subsequently broke. So it was already broke, it was already out of commission. I painted it to look like it kind of burned up. And then the part that was broken, I used silicone glue to put it down into the surface. You'll see that there's like burn marks. I tried to put some burn marks into the ground as well. This ground is actually, there's a couple trays of actual moon pieces that I got from Hobby Lobby, but the places where I don't have moon and the way to fill in the gaps where there's, it's cut into pieces. You can, if you look closely, you can actually see where it's cut up. This is modeling paste, and the nice thing about modeling paste is it gives a really strong texture, and it's also bonds really nicely, but it's a nice way to blend in your multimedia projects. I use silicone for most things because it needs to be durable enough to last for an 8-year-old. I found in the modeling section of Hobby Lobby and places like that, you can get these things that look like pools of water. They take a very long time to dry, and a little goes a long way. So one thing, if you were ever going to make pools of water, I would recommend, as they recommend if you look on Google or anywhere, to start with very little and build up slowly. You'll see on the other side where I got excited and impatient because the project was almost done and it's kind of flawed. The 2 make-believe planets are foam balls that I cut in half and then painted. Now, if you're going to use something like this, you're going to want to gesso it really well before putting on paint. And also for the texture, I took some sand from our sandbox and mixed it with the paint. So it would also seal to it, but it would also give it some dimension. One thing you'll note here is there's actual Velcro strips. One of the thoughts I had when I was making it was, you know, this is fine, but Lego guys might want to drop, you know, in space to have a battle or something. So I set up little places where he could put these things here, hopefully blend enough to the background, where creatures or guys or, you know, whatever little army guy might want to drop from space for the battle below. I found a box of these. I think I got these at Michael's. They were on sale for like $3. It's a whole bunch of dinosaur skulls. Painted a couple of them white so they would sort of blend into the background and add to his imagination. Sometimes when you're walking outside, you might see these little spiky balls. They're kind of cool. They're from some tree or whatever. So I painted them white, but because they're so dark, they kind of took a gray, eerie effect. I thought they might be kind of fun for the guys to like drop below on the battle scene. I used a lot of iridescent paint to get in texture. There's a lot more colors on this than meets the eye. We started with gray, black, rubbed it off so the white would come out, and then dry brushed it. I don't know if you are familiar with that technique, but you don't really add water, you just use paint and a dry brush just to highlight the textured pieces that are on the top. To get the dark in the cracks, you're going to want to water down your acrylic paint. I use acrylic, I don't like oil, and it goes right into the creases. Just a little technique. Other side. This is the Mayan ruins. This was actually a labor of love. What I did for these pyramids was I found some foam board that was over by a dumpster. And if you're going to use anything to create a build-up this much, it doesn't matter if it's gouged, if it's stained, or whatever. You're going to want to cut out the pieces with an X-Acto knife. Build it up. You don't even have to measure it exactly because you want it to look like it's a falling apart piece because it's ruins, right? So load it up, and then of course you're going to get your what do you call that stuff? Plaster strips. And I did these two first, but it lacked. So I made a little cave here. Sometimes when I'm trying it out for functionality, I'll put my youngest 2-year-old has like a tiger. I'll have it coming out of there or whatever. I put this up. This is supposed to be on top of a mountain with a lake coming out of it. You can see here where I got too excited with the lake feature, and I put too much down before it was dry, which is why there's that differentiation there. But I really wanted it to be special, so you can't tell probably in this lighting, but there's actually it's iridescent gold through there, and then there's some glass marbles to look like something. There's something mystical or magical about the cave. All the plants, I thought originally I was going to paint something, but it was just a lot of work, and I didn't want to mess up this late in the game, so I just bought aquarium plants, and I hot glued those down. This looks kind of ruin-esque, but what I actually ended up doing was getting a book from the thrift store, Splendor of the East, and I found something that looked kind of ruin-esque. Cut it out, and then I used Mod Podge down here to keep it down there. My son thinks it looks awesome. I haven't technically given it to him, but I let him play with it for functionality. Again, these are like decorative fake plant things that you put in like a vase for flowers or whatever. My son, I wanted to get it for him to put like, bushes, but I kept some out because he wants them to be boulders that fall down on people. If you can imagine being 8 years old. This mulch I took out of the library parking lot. Sorry, library. But I only needed like a small baggie's worth, just to kind of fill in where there's some cracks. Because this fake grass is actually, as you can see here, it's very thin. It's for actual models and dioramas. But it's not a smooth finish, so I glued all the edges, and where I can't, I put the mulch. This is also decorative for fake plants. I pulled out of a fake plant I shouldn't even say where I got it, but I pulled it out of a fake plant, and I glued it to hide the base of the foliage, which is actually for underwater. This was a lot more work than I anticipated, but I think my son is going to love it. I have had him try it out for functionality. What he has not seen is I got all these, when I do give it to him, there's all these mythical creatures that were on sale that I'm going to be setting up for it. So when I do the big unveiling tomorrow, you will have 3-headed griffins, a mermaid. I think there's a minotaur. You've got to have a minotaur if you're going to have a Mayan cave. Neptune with a trident. He's probably going to be here with the snake. We might have to film again just to show you his delight with the finished product. Yeah, a dragon, a mermaid. A project like this, what I really liked about the whole process, besides, this is my son's birthday gift from me, and, obviously this would have been cheaper to buy, probably, than to make for all the hours that I put into it. But as you go along with a project like this, you'll get inspiration just from looking through things to, like, things like this or this. The inspiration will keep coming. It's a blast. The kids, of course, you want them to appreciate how much went into it, but you know, now my kids are so used to me making stuff, they more give me orders like, now I want you to make me X, Y, and Z. So, one thing about the heavy wood is I was worried about it scratching. So I took some model or chair padding and I glued it down, as you can see. It's really soft right here. And then I used some scrap felt to cover it, and I hot glued all the edges. So as he lifts it and he drops it onto things, it's not going to scratch the furniture, which I think my husband filming this really is very glad for. Just add these for the little pieces that aren't being used, because you know he's going to lose all this stuff. It just makes it nicer for him. That's about it.